reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, it should be obvious to everybody. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from the basement bunker beneath Kello Radio. Welcome to the Fourth Hour. It is really terrific to have you along. Leah, let's go. Let's start with the President's True Social account because he shared some of the briefing this morning. Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, held the briefing again this morning, and she's talking about the first 100 days of the president's latest term, his second term. So we're 100 days in, and she talks about the accomplishments. It's incredible.
And President Trump's efforts are working. 345,000 jobs have already been added since the start of President Trump's term. Last month's jobs report saw nearly 100,000 more jobs than economists predicted, and it was the fourth highest month for private payroll growth in the past 2 years. 9,000 manufacturing jobs have been added to the economy already. This is a sharp contrast to the 6,000 manufacturing jobs that were lost each month in the final 2 years of the Biden administration. The U.S. employment rate remains at historic lows. And thanks to President Trump, Americans are seeing price relief for the first time in years. The last inflation report showed the first consumer price decline since the COVID pandemic, a decrease in energy prices, and real average hourly wage growth. President Trump is delivering on his promises to lower costs for American families and businesses. Prices across the board for everyday goods have seen declines since this president was inaugurated. From airfare to used motor vehicles to prescription drugs, prices are dropping. In fact, last month's drop in the price of prescription drugs was the largest ever recorded. And after Joe Biden botched the response to the bird flu, President Trump and Secretary Rollins' aggressive plan have brought down wholesale egg prices more than 50% from Inauguration Day.
So there she is with the receipts. You know, it's not just saying this is where we're at and this is what, giving the receipts, citing the numbers. It's absolutely incredible, I think, as you dive into that. The Newsmax has got more details on this. There's a story this morning, and this is what you just heard. Let me expand that a little bit here for you, a little easier to read. Tariff talk, but nearly 350,000 jobs. These are the economic achievements. 2,000 mining and logging jobs, 27,000 construction jobs, and just on it goes. The number of manufacturing jobs, the number of federal government jobs that have been cut, on and on. Veteran unemployment rate down. So remote work among federal employees has fallen. Prescription drug prices down, gasoline prices down, energy prices down, wholesale egg prices down, and just on it goes. So this is one of the reasons, as we were talking about some of the polls and polling and all of that, where I just think those are absolutely at odds with reality. There are the numbers, and they're showing the receipts. It's not just saying it. Here it is. It's specifically, they're pointing to it. I think it is absolutely incredible what the Trump administration is doing. And it's not just the president. It's his whole administration. It's Carolyn Leavitt. It is Stephen Miller over at the White House. This is incredible. This is a piece of video that I've got to show you. He tortured, and townhall.com. Stephen Miller torching the media because they don't understand what President Trump is doing in terms of deportation and the fact that you know, the people who are being deported right now who have had years of due process. And Stephen Miller, I think, just about works himself up to a stroke as he's explaining this to the media. It's pretty incredible. Let's watch.
Are you familiar with the case in question?
To the extent that, yes, I am. I'm sure you are.
So this person has had years of due process. In other words, the case that you're referring to are individuals who have already received all of their due process, including a final adjudication of their claims and an order to be removed from the country. In other words, they've been in the system for years. We've been told for years.
I'm going to stop this for a moment, because what you're going to hear Stephen Miller do is talk about what the Biden administration did and the fact that they how they just really tangled everything up. And it's pretty incredible because he just spells it out in a way that's really easy to understand.
Years that individuals who have been freed, so remember, the Biden administration freed illegal aliens at the border, and then instead created a system where they're supposed to go through what's called the non-detained docket. That's when your case is heard for relief while you are living free. We've been told for years and years and years, no, it's not catch and release. It's not catch and release. They're going to show up to get their hearings. They're going to show up to ICE. They're going to go through the process. And when they lose, they're going to go home. Well, we did the go home part. They lost the case.
Right.
It's been fully adjudicated. They have a lawful removal order. And so they've been sent home. That's literally the process the previous guys told us and Congress, that Mayorkas told Congress was going to happen. That when you lose the case, you go home. If people who lose their cases get to stay, that's not due process. That's just the complete suspension of all of our immigration laws and national sovereignty. And of course, by the way, we're going to respect parental rights. When you're deporting an illegal alien and they want to bring their kids with them when they leave, of course, we're not going to stand in the way of that. Now, I would say as a separate note, it's absurd as a country that we have a policy of declaring the children of illegal aliens to be automatic citizens. That doesn't even come up in this case because it's not relevant to the point that the mother wanted to bring her children with her. And of course, we will honor and respect that.
So now he's touching on a case there, and you hear that at the end of the cut. This was a mother who's in the country illegally. She had a child who was born in the United States. So the child, 2 years old, is a citizen. She's being deported, wanting to take her 2-year-old child with her, right? I mean, I would think if you're a normal parent, you kind of want to be with your 2-year-old child. That would, I think, for many parents be kind of a prerequisite, just and totally understandable. So the woman, however, is in the country illegally. She's being deported, her 2-year-old child going with her. Now, again, the child's a citizen, and you get Democrats going, oh, you can't be, you're deporting these 2-year-old citizens. What? The mother wants to take the children with her. This whole thing is just stupid. I mean, seriously, there's no other word for it. All of this debate over this kind of stuff, it's just absolutely stupid. And you hear Stephen Miller there. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to share that cut. He's just explaining it, I think, really powerfully, putting it into perspective, and I think a little bit frustrated. And I must say, you certainly can't blame him. I get frustrated myself, as we talk about a lot of these issues. It's just mind-blowing. Okay, let's also, the White House this morning, upset with Amazon. Let's get into this. Carolyn Levitt slamming Amazon for being a China-aligned company after a report said that Amazon plans to place a tariff surcharge label on products. She called this a hostile political act. She said this was this morning. She said, why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? So Levitt said she had just got off the phone with the president about what Amazon is doing, and she said that she would not speak to the president's relationship with Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. So anyway, the label, which informs customers of additional charges due to the tariffs. Controversial. And so they were seeking, this is a story likely we're going to be talking about coming up tomorrow during the radio show. And Carolyn Levitt, she is, I don't know that the president could have a better spokesperson at the White House than Carolyn Levitt. She is, in my opinion, she is just absolutely a rock star. Okay, let's talk about agriculture for a few minutes. This is from the New York Post. Farmers in full-blown crisis as Chinese orders for pork, soybeans plunge because of the tariffs. So it's China last week made its largest cancellation of pork orders since the COVID-19 pandemic. They stopped the shipment of 12,000 tons of pork, according to the Department of Agriculture. China dropped its soybean orders as well. So you can get more details on this from the New York Post. This is a farmer in Missouri raising cattle and grows grains, says he's nervous about whether U.S. exporters are going to be able to find foreign markets for their crops. He says we're all still planting, but it's on a leap of faith that there will be a foreign market to export it to, he told the New York Post. So the current 145% tariff on Chinese goods, and then the nation's retaliatory 125% tariff on the U.S. has been a major issue. So for those who are, concerned, you've heard a lot of conversation about this around the state, and especially coming from those involved in agriculture, and that story just really popped out at me this morning. Also, now, as we're talking about tariffs, Scott Bessent was talking about tariff revenue. This is from the Post Millennial, and he was asked, he was saying today, this is at this morning's briefing. He said revenues from tariffs will be able to provide income tax relief. And so he was asked about this. I want you to hear the question, and here's Bessent's response.
On tariffs, the president said over the weekend that we are hoping that maybe tariff revenues could replace income tax. But we also keep hearing about the deals that the administration is pursuing. So my question is, what is the White House's ultimate objective here? Do you want to have long-term tariff revenue or deals that might reduce those tariffs?
I thought it was a great question.
I think it's a combination of both. So we're going to take in long-term tariff revenue. We put a process in place. We have 18 important trading relationships. We will be speaking to all of those partners, or at least 17 of them, over the next few weeks. Many of them have already come to Washington. What President Trump is referring to is the ability for tariff revenue to give income tax relief. And I think there's a very good chance that we will see this in the upcoming tax bill. The president campaigned on no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and the restoring interest deductibility for autos, for American-made autos. So tariff income could be used for tax relief on all of those immediately.
That's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And so the tariff revenue could be used for all of those things that you just heard him talk about. No tax on tips has been a big issue. I think the issue of taxation overall is just a huge one. I also wanted to share this with you this morning. You remember Jeffrey Goldberg, who was accidentally included in that Signal group chat, and the story was up Pete Hegseth, and so the president did his interview with The Atlantic. Now, The Atlantic, if you're not familiar with them, very left-wing publication, The Atlantic is. So the president made a decision, and he announced this. I shared this on the radio, that the president had announced that he would sit down with the Atlantic, and he did that. In fact, the article was published over the weekend. It was Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic. And I wanted to get through this. I've not seen the entire interview. Again, this is post-millennial. The president, at least in my view, I appreciate the insights into his thoughts, where he's at, what his thinking is. He said he didn't think of his path back to the Oval Office as a comeback. He said, but you're right, I guess. There could be some truth to that. But from his point of view, it was never a comeback. He said, I thought that maybe I wouldn't do it, but I thought that if I did it, I'd win. But I never considered it a comeback. A lot of people call it a comeback. Most people, I guess, call it the greatest political comeback in history. I think that's an honor, but I don't view it as a comeback. I just sort of view it as I just keep trudging along. I shouldn't be embarrassed by that word because it's probably accurate. I just didn't view it as a comeback. And I think that's how you just keep trudging along, man. That's the secret of life. I think you just keep trudging along. Trump said his time in office is a much more powerful presidency than I had the first time, but I accomplished a tremendous amount the first time. He said in his first term, he was fighting for survival, and I was fighting to run the country. This time, I'm fighting to help the world and to help the country. You know, it's a much different presidency. I don't think there's any argument with that. I certainly have none. It feels like a much different presidency. And with this 100-day mark today, I think, look at what he's done over the course of the last 100 days. It's not only that he hit the ground running. I mean, he hit the ground sprinting as hard as he can and ready. He was prepared. I mean, this stuff just didn't come out of thin air. These folks have been working on these things in order to get the ball, rolling. Trump was asked about a 2028 run and whether he has sought a legal opinion about running a third time. And the president said he hasn't. He said that would be a big shattering, wouldn't it, if he were to run again? So, yeah, it would. He was asked whether he thought the various criminal prosecutions against him made him stronger. Shockingly, yes. And I would agree with this. I absolutely, I think more people got behind the president as a result of the weaponization of politics. And in particular, the weaponization of the Justice Department against Donald Trump. So he said, normally it would knock you out. You wouldn't even live for the next day. You'd announce your resignation and you'd go back and fight your name like everybody says, fight for your name. Go back to your family. Yeah, it made me stronger, made me a lot stronger. And I agree with that. I think that's what we see. Him standing up after that assassination attempt would mean fight, fight, fight. That image will live in my memory I'd like to think forever, but I don't know my memory these days. So anyway, pretty incredible. You can find more on this at the Post-Millennial. If you're looking for a short version, go to the Post-Millennial. Of course, you can catch the entire story at the Atlantic. And that is a wrap from the bunker today. I want to thank you so much for being here. You made it to the end of the video, so you are part of my gallery of champions. Thanks also to the Bunker Brigade. These are the folks that every day they're commenting, they're interacting, and it's really very much appreciated. It's one of the reasons why the last few days I've been sharing some of their comments and shining a spotlight on them, because you guys, in my view, are the real rock stars. And I'm so grateful for all of you. So that's it. That's a wrap. I'm underground and gone.